Hello, friends. 10 winters ago, I went out one night into the winter woods to see what I was capable of. I did this with nothing, naked. Well, not quite naked. I did wear a loincloth, and I had my signature necklace that I wore at the time, but I didn't bring any tools to see if I could make it through the night. That video was an hour long, and it's gotten well over 1 million views, and it's inspired a lot of people and brought a lot of people to ReWild University. But for some time now, I've wondered if I could edit it down to a more reasonable time. Well, I tried and got it down to just over 40 minutes. It's not as short as I was hoping for, but I think it smoothed it out a little bit, and even though you'll see a lot of cut edits, it made it a little bit more watchable. That night I went out, it started at 35 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.6 Celsius. Little did I know that night it would get down to negative 13 Celsius or 8 Fahrenheit. It was an amazing night in so many ways, and I wanted to share it with you again on this anniversary of that event. So I'd invite you to join me as we go out for one night in the winter woods, naked, with no tools, and seeing if we can get through the night. Yeah, it's a loincloth. I never thought I would be doing a video in a loincloth. The first thing I'm going to try to do here is get fire, but my feet aren't going to last long. So I'm going to get myself a little platform off the ground and then start gathering some materials to try to make a hand drill and get a tinder bundle and see if we can get flames. No way. Okay. Not what I intended, but okay. I'm giving my feet their first break here. They're pretty cold already, and just recovering their warmth by tucking them up against a really warm area of the body. This will give me a little bit more time. Okay, a couple materials I'm gonna need in order to I've got to watch myself here because there's some barbed wire on the ground, and that will go through my bare feet in a bad way. I'm gonna head over here and see what I can find for fire making materials. There's a white pine forest in the field, should be lots of good stuff. Okay, mullein, really nice hand spindle. And all through here, there is turkey tracks. All through here, there's a bunch of good tinder materials. I'm going to be gathering as much as I can. This is goldenrod, and these fluffs are really nice. And already I wasn't thinking what I actually should be doing is picking the entire goldenrod because it's also going to give me some good fire starting material. I'm looking for some good pine sticks. Fortunately, the advantage of a slightly warmer day also means that the sun has melted some of the snow on these and they're not as dry as I would like. So I'm going to be keeping this for firewood. Okay. Oh, still really wet. Not good, not good. This one's already broken. See, I didn't break it with that moss on there, but it feels really nice and light. Okay. Okay. I'll warm these feet up again because that's really my weak link, is these feet. They can only take so much before they're frostbit, so I have to keep them warm. The biggest thing in the cold for a lot of people, including me, is remembering to think. It's easy to start rushing because, for instance, here my feet are losing heat very quickly, and I know I don't have much time, so then I start to rush. My wife Rebecca has a saying. She says, "Never rush that which must be done quickly." I do want to move fast, but if I rush, I mess things up and forget things. Okay, I'm going to try to build an upside down fire. It means I'm going to use some of the suboptimal pieces of wood that I found. Trying to make a careful pile over here of smaller stuff. Okay, I'm getting cold. There's enough wind that it's definitely seeping my heat pretty quickly. And I have a nice collection of wood that I'm going to set aside. Not wood, but really small stuff that will burn well. And this I can use on top if my upside down fire doesn't take. I just always try to have this little backup. Okay. A spindle, some cracks in this, which is not good. So I'm going to be trying to go up above the cracks. And just going to hope for a clean break. Oh, it's cracking. No, no, no. Okay. When you have a cracked spindle like this, if you don't have a nice rounded edge, it will tend to snap up the length, and then you're done for. So I'm hoping that's enough. I've got a spindle and a board. I have to figure out how to get a hole into this board to start this. This is working, but I'm having to, oh, they're just waiting for me to keel over. I'm having to really try to keep my mouth dry so I don't get this wet. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can, oh, that's not gonna work. See if I can set a hole in here. I don't have enough of a hole in there for it to hold yet, I can tell. And my feet are definitely on their way out. Check this out. It's grown in close to the tree. And so I've got a little tool here that I can use to make a hole. And I'm hoping it will make me a notch too. And I'm gonna start that right now. I think it's gonna work. Okay, what I'm doing here is an upside down fire. So I have my biggest pieces on the bottom, and then I work my way up to really thin stuff that should take really nicely. This is the crappiest notch I've ever made, but I have been able to get my spindle to spin in there, and it'll be a miracle if this notch works. But you can see it does come in to the edge, and as this burns down I'm just gonna hope that I get something. So I'm shaking, you can see. I need to find, here, something flat. Stay to do this on. There's my base. Okay, I can see I'm going to need to cut this notch deeper. This notch is much better. I'm getting smoke. Yes. Come on, baby. Oh, come on. Oh my gosh. Oh, I nailed it. No, stay going, stay going. Oh, okay. Don't get sloppy with excitement. Okay. Okay, we got flames. Steady and easy. Oh my gosh. That was my, I guess I got fire and hopefully I won't have to get it again. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Look at that. Fire. Okay, now I'm gonna warm up on that fire. Okay. First my feet. I can't really feel my feet, so I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm really, taking it easy with this. Just little bursts. I don't want to burn them. Singeing a lot of hair. That's fine. Okay. So the teeth are chattering. I'm cold, but I have fire, so that's a really good thing. Now I've got to start thinking a little bit because this is great that I have fire. But there's a whole night in front of me, and that's many, many hours. It's going to get a lot colder. Okay, at the moment I'm just going to enjoy some heat. And then I'm going to gather some firewood. And I think I'm also going to start collecting some rocks. There were some rocks down in that valley. And if I get enough rocks going here, I could get them really warm. And I think I can create something here where I'll have hot rocks to keep me warm through the night. Oh my gosh. Oh, too hot, too hot. I chose white pine as my original wood because those little white pine branches, I don't think I have any left here. There's one. These they take so well, even if they're wet. And then the rest, the white pine it's an easy starting wood. And so I knew once I got the tinder bundle going that it would take the white pine. But I am going to start getting, if I can, some downed ironwood or larger pieces. These are both ironwood here. I don't want to burn these, but because they're keeping me off the ground, but find some others because that's going to give off more heat and it's going to burn longer. Where the white pine it's hot, but it doesn't last a real long time. I'm having to keep coming back and re-warm. I've got one big rock. Not sure if you can see that there. Hoping to go down there and collect some more, but I'm a little bit entering into the first stage of hypothermia, so I'm gonna really make an effort here to get a really good big fire going that can warm me up. I don't have a lot of materials in this area to work with, and I do have a wind. A shelter would be nice, but I've chosen an area that doesn't, have the white pines are over there, but it's a cold walk on my bare feet. So got to kind of balance things out here and decide what's going to be my best course of action. Okay, I've got a nice collection of smaller rocks here. Whoa! That's my big one. And as these little rocks absorb heat, they're gonna give me, they're gonna give me something I can hold and kind of cuddle up to and, place on certain parts of my body that need heat in order to really return some of the heat that I'm very swiftly losing here. I might be using them on my core, might be using them the back of my neck where a lot of heat is lost, and I might be using them on my feet or extremities if I can't get these guys warmed up enough, because they're not frostbitten, but they're cold. I think hot rocks are going to be my salvation tonight. I hope. So my next mission, trying to think clearly here, is going to be to collect some more firewood and build up this fire even bigger, and then get a few more rocks, and then try to build some kind of a windbreak on the back over here so that I'm not getting, losing so much to the wind. This foot's almost, well, not really. I was gonna say it's almost back to normal. This one I got a little too cold. I'm trying to bring it back to life here. So in this situation, the tricky part is that I have to balance out the coldness of my extremities, in this case my feet, and my core temperature. I need to block this wind. Burned myself a little bit there. I need to block this wind, because if I don't, I'm losing a lot of core temp. And even with a big fire on this side, the amount I'm losing to the back, I'm playing a losing game there. But to go out and gather materials to build a shelter is going to take a lot out of my feet. My feet have already been very abused, particularly my toes here. I have to see if I can get them back to some semblance of normalcy before I try to build this windbreak. But the more I think, everything in me is saying I've got to block this wind, because that's just killing me right now. Here's that crappy notch. You can see why I thought it wasn't going to go through and I was going to stop again, but then there's this little hole in it. So it went right through and fell down through that hole. Sorry, I can't hold things very well because I'm shaking so much. But I guess I shouldn't call it a crappy notch, because it worked really well. Okay, so what I'm doing is I've got this branch here, and I'm going to try to collect some logs and place them upright along here to block the wind. If I can block the wind and build this fire up more, it'll really, really help. Okay, here's what's going on. I started putting some logs up here, but the cost to my feet to go out there and gather materials in this ecosystem, which is a little sparse in materials, is too much. So I lose too much through my feet to warrant trying to make this work. Here, I'll show you what we've got out here. This ecosystem just doesn't have a lot of materials to work with. So, I went out and I collected these two uprights thinking I could fill this all in with uprights, but it's not gonna happen. So again, sorry for the camera shake if it's shaking, because it's pretty cold. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build kind of a long fire back behind here, so that the heat coming from my back, the wind, is gonna be warm. And then I'll have this fire in front, where I'm heating up rocks. And that hopefully will be enough. But if I don't do something about that wind behind me very soon, it's going to be game over, because I'm now losing core body heat. Okay, I'm losing sunlight fast, which isn't good, but I've started to put together a little shelter behind me. And I'm using a hot rock right now. This one's just perfect, that it's, you know, I can tell with my hands that I can touch it for a little while. And then I can rest my feet on it. And not leave them on there too long, because they will burn. These rocks can get really, really hot. You can see the steam coming off. It's not smoke. Luckily, it's steam. You might be able to see it. But this is letting me warm those toes back up as I continue to gather materials to try to build a wind block and gather firewood. It's going to be a lot more difficult to gather firewood after it gets dark. Okay, here's what I've got going. It's very crude, but I'm sitting right in here. I've got a nice little wind block and a good fire with all my hot rocks to keep me warm. And so I'm going to keep building on this and collecting firewood. And so far, I'm still losing too much heat to make it through the night, but if I can cuddle down in here and warm myself up with some of those hot rocks, I can regain my heat. Unfortunately, I still have to gather a lot of firewood before I can do that, because I'm losing the sun. Got a little bit more. There it is. Okay, this is looking more likely. Still really cold, but what I'm doing now, as you can see, I have a little bit of a windbreak behind me, which is helping a lot. I've got these nice warm rocks that I have to check with my hands, sometimes my wrists, to make sure that they're not too hot, because it's hard to feel. But then on this side's too hot, it'd burn instantly. But on this side, I can put my foot down, can rest on the rock. This rock is warming my hands, which have been working hard, and I'm starting to use it on my core too. Well, it's a little hot for that. One trick is that if you have these facing, like this one, this side was facing the fire, so this side is really hot. I can use it to warm my feet if I do it sporadically. The other side is nice and hot, but not as hot. It won't burn me, so I can hold it up against my core. What I have going here is basically a fire that I can feed throughout the night. This won't be enough, but if I can get about 10 more logs like this, then I can just pull them down and keep them feeding nicely into the fire all throughout the night. I'm on a slope here, so it's really nice. It won't take much effort at all to pull them down towards me. This rock on my belly, it's really nice. Finally, I feel like I'm starting to stabilize. I'm no longer losing heat, but still, it's going to get a lot colder tonight. Here I am with my pet rock, and I've got a good fire, and my tripod's hot, and a nice collection of wood. I think I still need more, but now I'm just going to hunker down for a little while and see if I can really regain a bunch of my body heat. I'd like to be cozy. I am losing my sun, but I really probably just need a few more really big logs in order to make it through the night. So I'm gonna just risk losing some time in order to warm back up. Again, it's my feet. They're having the most problem. They're down here on a hot rock, and I'm gonna see what I can do to really warm them up. I've got a nice supply back here of smaller sticks. It's out of the range of the camera, I'm afraid. Those are to put underneath here in case these big ones are too high. The way I have it set up, they're a little bit high. And it's actually nice because it's going to keep them burning slow and warm. I don't really want a lot of heat, otherwise I'm going to be blasted out of my little shelter here because it's so small. But if I can keep it just like this, and I've got my hot rocks for my feet, pretty comfortable. That's what I'm hoping will keep me going through the night. My feet are not happy, but nor are they in the danger zone anymore. And I'm able to heat rocks right up here and keep them warm. And then I can use them. That's a little bit too hot. I can use them on my body. There goes the sun. And the camera isn't shaking so much anymore. That's because I'm kind of warm. Well, not warm, but that would be lying. But I'm not freezing anymore. Well, it's a lot darker, obviously, and it is colder, but I'm warm. And these hot rocks really do the trick. I've got them on my feet, and I've got one I've been warming up here. It's a little too hot to hold at the moment, but I'm letting it cool down, and then I'll bring it up against my body more. You know, I think something that's missing in our culture is a feeling of being vibrantly alive. Our culture gives us all kinds of stand-ins. They call it entertainment, right? And it gives us a vicarious feeling of being alive. So we watch a movie and we can kind of pretend we're Wolverine beating up a bunch of people, or, you know, traveling to some amazing place. You know, we're Frodo in Middle Earth. We can play video games, and those give us a feeling too, because actually we get to be right in the action and shooting at things or going on adventures or wielding magic. These things give us that feeling, but we know it's a fantasy. We know it's not real. You know, even sports. We watch sports and we shout and we cheer on our heroes and we criticize them when they don't do a good job, but we're sitting on our couches. And if you're watching this, you know, you're a person I just know that loves that feeling of being alive. And there's that passion in you. And maybe you've found ways to capture that and find it and nurture it, cultivate it in your life. Maybe it just feels like it's completely missing. Our culture teaches comfort, and because comfort is kind of numbing, it gives us the entertainment to try to, you know, make things feel more alive. But it just doesn't work. And I would love to hear from you in the comments about if you felt this desire to be alive, how you've cultivated it, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And, you know, I think by all of us sharing, we can help each other to start to find this more in our lives. Because, you know, we don't have to go out and spend a night naked in the woods. We don't have to go and do some adrenaline junkie thing. And we don't have to take these pale imitation handouts that our culture gives us. I can envision a world where we all have that feeling of just feeling so alive. You know, when, in a way, it almost wouldn't work in our current system, because our current system needs us to buy, you know, the nice car that's going to make us feel cool, and the Xbox that's going to make us feel like we have adventure in our lives. And without, you know, us purchasing those things, it's going to shift our culture. But I can envision that, you know, a culture where we don't need all those things because we're feeling alive right now, just in a conversation with somebody, just when we eat. You know, if we skip a meal, if we just skip one meal, and then we eat the next meal, how good it tastes, how fulfilling, and just, it's amazing. But when we have that perfect comfort of eating constantly, usually overeating constantly, then we never get to experience what it's like to be hungry. I'm gonna settle in for the night here, curl up on this and see if I can actually get a little bit of sleep. I'm gonna be able to pull these down through the night, and this rock is really just becoming my best friend here. I'm gonna keep this rock with me, and there's others that I can put my feet on, my body on, and I think I might actually be warm tonight. Coyotes calling. It's nice to know I'm not alone out here. Look at that moon. Nice thing about when it's this full is that it rises and sets just about opposite the sun. So I can watch it go across the sky, and you can see it moving even there. And it will tell me when the sun's going to rise. Good morning. I won't say that was a comfortable night, but mission accomplished. Made it through, and now the morning birds are singing and the sun is coming up over the horizon. Quite a feeling. This, in my little shelter, worked pretty well. This kept the wind off if I stayed, really huddled down in there. And I guess some problems I had were I had a support bar here and one here, and my logs were feeding over this, and eventually that burned through and this one fell and caused things to topple, and I had to do a little rebuilding of my shelter during the night. But otherwise, that feeding method worked really well, and this actually, when this came down, it oddly made things a little bit more comfortable. I didn't actually get any sleep, I don't think, but so the fire made things easier for itself and for me, I guess. This is the whole, secret to making it through a night like this, are these hot rocks. And there's an art to this. It's, as I said before, if there's one side facing the fire and the other side isn't, this side can get too hot to touch, and this side can be just right. But the other real trick to this is if you cook them slowly, then the heat will go into their core. And then they'll hold heat for a long time. I mean, this can have good heat for an hour or more. If I just heat it up quickly, which is, what I used to tend to do, then it'll have good heat, but it won't last a long time. And I'm constantly cooking rocks. But this way, I could, cook them slowly and then trade off rocks and have nice rocks that I could hold up against my body. And back of the neck really tends to warm you along where your major, blood flow is, up against the core, and the extremities, of course, the hands and the feet. I thought I might have to use some of the wood, in my little shelter and platform as firewood, but I didn't. So that was really nice. It was a chance for me to see what I was capable of, mostly mentally. I don't think this was physically a a horrible, horrible challenge. Because once I got fire, and that fire came surprisingly easily, then things went pretty well. But it was a long, kind of, I won't say cold, but it was a long night where it was hot on this side, it was cold on my back, and so it was a long, uncomfortable night. It always reminds me when I'm doing things like this, that there's people that are having medical issues or are in other situations in their lives that they can't get out of. I had a ready escape if I needed it. And it really makes you feel compassion for people that might be caught, in a hospital bed for weeks or months, enduring pain and discomfort that makes what I experienced tonight look like nothing. So, that's a good reminder to me, and I think to all of us, that we can watch these survival programs and see people doing all these extreme things, but those people are not going as deep into their physical and mental resources as a lot of normal people. It might be some woman in her 80s who's in that hospital bed and is just trying to get through each day, maybe each breath. That's a powerful realization for me. I'm going to go ahead and head home. Thank you so much for watching. And again, please share in the comments your thoughts, your experiences with taking things to your edge, or places in your life where you haven't had a choice and you've had to take things to your mental and physical edge. And how did you deal with it? How did you get through? I'm sure your stories can inspire us all. Boots. Feels pretty good.